Big day of playoff action live on Sky Sports, and a special guest joins the team for the triple header. The former Southampton and Luton manager Nathan Jones, as you can see, is alongside us in the studio. Good afternoon to you.
Afternoon.
3 months yesterday it was that you were sacked by Southampton. How have you reflected on things since then and your time at the club?
Look, I've had a lot of time to reflect, as I always do. And as I said, I wanted to go there and be successful. That wasn't the case. So if you're not successful, it's important that you learn. And I've reflected on my time, things I would have done differently and stuff. And yeah, but it's one of those things, and it's been a big learning curve for me. What
would you have done differently?
There's a lot of things probably not to go into now, but there's a few little things I need to do when I first went in and so on. But look, it's a wonderful club. I had the trust of the owners, and I just wish I could have bought myself a bit more time in terms of stuff, so I've implemented what I wanted to and what they wanted me to implement.
I remember speaking to you at Stoke actually after your final game in charge of Luton, and then you went on later that week to take the job at Southampton. Was it different, the step up from the Championship to the Premier League, than what you thought it was going to be?
No, I went in there with my eyes wide open in terms of everything. So it wasn't, the Championship is a really strong, really competitive, real tactical league. You step up, and the Premier League is different. It is very, very tactical. It is obviously the quality in the Premier League and everything around it. So no, it wasn't anything different. And as I said, sometimes you take a little bit of time to adapt and so on. But no, look, I enjoyed my time. For the majority of things, I enjoyed my time. Certain things, as I said, I would have done differently. But I really enjoyed my time there.
When you speak about some of the things that you might have done differently, one of the things we spoke after a lot of Luton games over the years, and I always respected the fact that you were incredibly honest, always said what you thought. A lot of managers come out and give platitudes, but that wasn't the case with you at Luton, and it wasn't the case with you at Southampton. Do you think that occasionally your honesty came back to bite you, or people were critical of how honest you were as a manager?
Look, I think you have to be authentic as a person, as a manager or whatever. That's me, in terms of everything. But I only think there was probably one interview where it was probably a little bit ill-timed. Definitely sort of misconstrued my things, because at the time I accept responsibility for everything. I've never ever come out and not accept responsibility for anything. Never hung a player or anything out to dry. So it was probably a little bit ill-timed. But I've learned from that in terms of stuff. But as I said, the important thing for me is to be honest, to be authentic, and to be myself. And that's what I am.
So that one time, would that be the time when you said about compromising principles?
Just things after the Brentford game. Look, I don't want to go really into that because it's a big thing. But I looked at the side of that day, and I needed my team to be better on that day. And I looked at it and thought that's not my team there in terms of on that day. But as I said, I learned a lot from my time there. The players, to be fair, can't be critical, because every day I really enjoyed working with the players. Look, I just needed to win enough games so that I could have implemented what I needed to.
How difficult was that job at being manager of Southampton this season? Because so many players in that squad had no Premier League experience at all, and that must be a significant factor, that young players, very talented young players, I mean, you work with them every day, you would know better than me, but you're asking them to step up, and there wasn't too many senior players to guide them.
I know, but then you look, there are senior players there. Then they look to the management and so on. And look, I enjoyed my time there, and that's where I can't be critical of too much. I enjoyed my time there. It was a learning curve. I would have liked to stay there longer, but that was me. I needed to get results, but I enjoyed my time. The owners backed me in terms of every day. Obviously, they brought me to the club and so on. So look, it was just a time that I learnt. I'm better for the experience. I've reflected, and I'm looking forward to the next challenge, and that's the important thing, really.
Do you think you'd have kept him up?
Look, that's something that if whatever I answer that, it's a bit of a loaded question. Wherever I answer that, it comes out. All I would have known is if I had got the results, then I know that they would. I would have kept improving the team because of the work we do. I believe in the work we do, but look, it's very, very difficult to turn around and say that, because I said the last thing I want is another headline. But I enjoyed my time. I've learned. Looking forward to the next challenge, and that's the big thing.
Do you feel refreshed and ready to go again now?
Yeah, look, when you're as a manager, when you're in there, it's, it consumes you in every aspect of your life. So I've enjoyed a bit of family time. I've been away on holiday, which I don't get to do in March and so on, and things. And I'm really looking forward to my next challenge. And as I said, I'm refreshed and ready.
Do you have anything particular in mind? Is there something in a club or a project that you would look at and think, yeah, that's the sort of challenge I'm after?
No, I'm a builder. I like to build. I like to be at places, and for a long time. Ironically, I believe that our work is deep. I believe it's not just results based. I believe that, if you look at my previous club, we built a club there that wasn't reliant on just a manager being in place. There's right throughout the processes, the recruitment, every single thing, the structure, the culture, the philosophy, everything is in place there and has been for a long time. And I left on 2 occasions, but the club kept doing well. So it shows that whatever had been built there had been built on solid foundations, and that's what I like to do. I'm not a fly-by-night manager. I don't like to chop and change. If I do choose a project or a project comes for me, then it's one that I really think I'm going to be there and be able to do good work, and that's the kind of thing I'd like to do.
I think no one could deny that you did a great job at Luton, and a lot of that we see today in the fact that they're playing a playoff game, having finished 3rd in the Championship, which is extraordinary. Do you think they're massively different to the team that you left in terms of the way they play?
No, and I don't at all. I think obviously there'll be subtle changes, but I think the formation, the personnel, the type of clean sheets and goals and everything they scored, it was just based on structure. We had 2 different structures from the time I was there at League 2 and League 1. We were a real possession-based, fluent, real good attacking side. Then when I came back, they were in a different place, so we had to build something new, and we built it on the same foundations and the same recruitment policies, but we went a different way in terms of being really athletic, really front-footed, and very difficult to play against, because we were very respectful that we went up a level in terms of the Championships in a very unforgiving league, and every year we've improved. Myself and the CEO would sit down every single summer and say, all we need to do is make sure we keep the club moving forward on a safe platform. So there's no trapdoors. We had to think of no trapdoors. So we didn't overspend so that would come back, and if they didn't do something, then that came back to haunt them. It's a real sane, wonderful football club built on people, on an excellent philosophy, great recruitment, and wonderful human beings.
And also incredibly hard to play against. I mean, I don't think I've ever watched a Luton game and thought the opposition have had a nice afternoon there. There's physicality and the work ethic, particularly the central midfielders get through so many miles and kilometres. That, again, must be something that you take great pride in, that now under Rob, but also under you, no one would have ever enjoyed a match against Luton Town.
No, and look, the work ethic's right throughout the club, from, as I said, from the top right to the bottom, to the groundsman, to every single thing. Everyone, one team, one goal. That's what we created there. And no, especially at Kenilworth Road, it's an extremely difficult place. There's not many that go there, and I'm talking Premier League sides. We give Chelsea a really uncomfortable time a year or so ago, but they're a wonderfully honest team. And talented, because they can play both ways. If it turns into a football game, Luton can play football. If it turns into a war, then that suits them. And anything in between, Luton can handle it. They're a wonderful side. But you look at the playoffs today, and there's 4 real good sides, different but real good sides. It's going to be an interesting playoff campaign, this one.
Yeah, how do you see the challenge of Sunderland for Luton?
I think it's not chalk and cheese, because that would be disrespectful to both. But I think Sunderland are a really young, fluent, difficult side to play against in a different way. Luton have the capabilities to handle that, but Sunderland are a wonderful side. Tony's very innovative in how he works. His Blackburn side, we had a difficult game against his Blackburn side to stay in the league a few years ago. And they, at times it can be unorthodox. They've had to play with no recognised striker. Very few recognised centre-halves as well, so they've had to play a certain way, and they're very dangerous doing it. They're in great form, so Luton be a wonderful game, I think.
I think probably one of the phrases used about Luton Town quite often is punching above their weight. I think we could probably apply the same to Coventry City, and we talk about pound for pound the best jobs across the EFL this year. Mark Robins has got to be right near the top of that list, hasn't he?
Absolutely. And look, I don't mean to be disrespectful about punching above their weight, because what I say is financial weight, but the work and everything that goes in compensates for that. So Luton don't spend a load of money, but what they do is they invest in human beings, invest in people, and that's why they're able to compete at the top end of the Championship. I think Coventry did exactly the same. Mark's had shown real continuity. He's been there, you know, through real dark times, through real tough times. They're a real difficult side to play against, of talented individuals, and their recruitment has been similar to what Luton's has been. Had to take a few loans now and again, and so on, but the people, the strikers especially, that they've signed, they spent a little bit of money on the boy Hamer, who's a wonderful player as well. So without really spending money and with some restrictions, done a wonderful, wonderful job.
You said to me a lot of times in the past, I'd love to see Luton in the Premier League. Can they do it? And if they don't, who will it be?
I absolutely think Luton can do it. I think they're very difficult to beat. Over 2 games, it'll take some side to beat them, and then I think the final can be, anything can happen. I think any 4 of the sides can win it. I really do. I mean, you look at the job Michael Carrick's done there. Wonderful. You know, for where he took them over to where they are now, and at times they have proven to be the best one-day side. You know, I've seen them play against Norwich, seen them play against Sheffield United away, and put in 2 of the best performances I've seen in the Championship. So they are a real threat. Got some wonderful players. Chuba Akpong, the Championship player of the season. And then you look at the unorthodox way that Sunderland play. So any one of those 4 can win. I think it's really, really open. But it's going to be very, very exciting, because regardless of points differences, we saw last night, you know, with Sheffield Wednesday and Peterborough, the playoffs are a different animal, and you have to be ready for them.
Well, thank you so much for coming in to speak to us, and look forward to seeing you back in the dugout soon.
Cheers, thanks very much.